Nothing, not a thing will set you free. Feel complete till you realize you've gotta let it go. Go.
Hi, I'm just checking if that's working. Oh, I think it is. Don't mind my voice. I just woken up, so I know. I know. It's really weird. Anyway, so hello and thank you for joining in. I'm talking to you now from my living room that is quite colorful, thank God, because outside it's Vilnius and it's foggy and rainy and I haven't seen the sun, a single sun ray for over a month. Yeah. Imagine what it feels like. No, but it's cool. I'm doing well. Um, and actually, it kind of forces me to do some sort of like a introspection because I tend to read more, think more. I made a list of things that I would like to go through because I'm not really good at like speaking nonstop, although I tend to do it after a few, but not today. So I hope you don't mind if I'm going to read a few sentences out. So yeah, here I'm writing so that because I'm doing so much of a, contemplation. So naturally I thought, why not to turn all of this thinking into something that I could share? I find that on parallel or sometimes even direct ways, we're going through the same things. So let's just talk about it. There are a few themes that have been circling in my mind this week, and those are about the concept and processing and analysis inside our own minds of the, the concept of trade off, um, and then avatar. I feel like I have to go through it because it did leave some sort of an imprint in me and raised a lot of questions. And then the importance of having a clean kitchen. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Okay, let's just see how it goes. So the trade-offs. The idea of trade-offs came from my conversation with a friend, and how he had a belief that whatever you do in life, you kind of like choose one thing, but then at the same time, you are basically trading it off for something else because I don't know, that's how it works, probably the economy, whatever. There are like a lot of reasons people believe in this thing. And I never thought about it that much, but because I was in the conversation, I ended up thinking about it, and then I learned new things about it myself because I didn't know I had such a position. And yeah, it's it's really impressive how much you can learn if you just let yourself freestyle, you know, in the conversation. Okay, so I'll just read some of the maybe text, like obviously just my text, and just say what I was trying to say. Basically, what I'm saying is that life is not a sacrifice game. And then obviously you can say, oh, but we are all constantly trading off. As I said, you choose one thing over the other, or maybe you don't even know the thing that you're missing out on, and blah blah blah. So then I'm saying that, well, that is all ego talk, because at the end of the day, it's going to be the ego that is going to be judging whether you won or lost. And in reality, none of this happens because stuff just happens. It's the ego that decides whether you won or lost. So the trade off will be a good trade off or a bad trade off, just um, according to your ego's belief at that current time. See? And so sometimes you guess right and sometimes you don't. But taking credit for that is placing too much importance on oneself. You know, of course, I'm being a little facetious because sometimes you can get exactly what you intended to or calculated to, but are they usually of the large enough scale to be considered a win if we follow that kind of a mind framework? Also, continuing this logic, many things, millions, billions, just enlarge the scale, uh, will not happen as a result of a particular trade off. So, why bother at all about scenarios that didn't happen? Because trade offs are so endless and limitless, they are as good as non existent. Do you see where I'm going? So, why focus on onto the non-existent part? And then the conversation turned into risk assessment and the things they like. Risk assessment comes together with the understanding whether trade-off is worth it or not, and these two activities come together usually. And I feel like risk assessment is important in doing business, but here we're talking about life. And even then, I believe that our intuition does the thirst calculation that takes into account much more than we can comprehend at the time. We have to understand that there's so many variables that could happen right or wrong uh, in in relation to the outcome that we want or we don't want. So there's just no way for us to control all of them or even be aware of all of these variables and how they can interplay and connect and affect the outcome. So, I mean, if it's that easy as, I don't know, going to the store and buying a lollipop, then maybe that's pretty, clear. You know what you're going to do. You're going to trade off your money to get the lollipop. But even then, you don't know what can happen on the way to the store. Lots of things can happen. So I feel like using the concept of trade-off only somewhat limits you. Things don't happen right or wrong. They just happen. It's up to us to decide what that was. And so then applying a concept of trade-off is an interesting one. I feel like it stems from the desire to make sense, obviously, of any situation and your worlds and how things interplay with each other, how one thing is maybe more valuable than the other. But even in reality, you don't know what's more valuable. Okay, so I'm not gonna go this deep yet because now I'm again on the freestyle mode, but I'll just continue with what I've written. So we finished on intuition and how I believe that it does the initial calculation and only after, and takes into account probably much more than we comprehend at that time. So then the notion of time was brought into the conversation, saying that whatever we do, we're trading time. And but then again, I just kind of like I refuse to see time as a limited or very quantifiable thing. I mean, obviously, physics, blah, blah, everyone is talking about it and everyone always looks at it as a linear thing. But even then, even in physics, you can always find a right loophole that will extend as much as you want your time, your space time, whatever. So, if anything, it's just the lack of imagination, I imagine, that limits us in that regard, even in such things as time. So, so I was saying that, like, let's say you lose in a trade-off, and you say, "Oh, what I did, I lost time." But obviously, you didn't lose time because you got a lesson and you learned. I mean, obviously, it depends on you. If you don't learn, then maybe you did waste time. I don't know, but it's a good lesson, and sometimes it's, sometimes it takes time to learn, innit? And also another thing that I noticed was that time cannot be rushed or slowed down, because when we become impatient, and that applies to me too, and I catch myself doing that quite often. Well, not quite often. I don't know. Just I do catch myself doing that. So when we try to rush things or slow them down, we tend to fall into this trap of distorting reality together with our own connection with the world. When you're trying to rush something, I feel like what it does is that it starts to build up some sort of expectations, or not necessarily build up, but feed them. Because I imagine that you only want to rush things if you have an expectation for the future, and that's where you want to arrive earlier, or faster, and then you're just feeding up to that expectation, and your reality, the things that are now, they're being so distorted, and you don't even see them, because all you see is that expectation which has to be met, and you want to meet it ASAP, and at that time, all of this time until you get there, and either you achieve it and you're like, oh, okay, what's next? Or you don't achieve it and then you become disappointed. So whichever way it is, like that journey from the moment of now to the moment where you get that expectation fulfilled is gonna be in a way distorted. Well, I'm saying you, which is really crazy because I'm talking about myself all of the time. But maybe I'm talking to me, you know. It's nice to split in it. So yeah, I'm saying you, but I'm actually meaning me, and I hope you understand that. But maybe it applies to you too. So that's what I'm gonna keep saying you, because that's the natural way of talking, probably. No, the reality will be distorted because every single thing you do or think or touch or experience will be in relation to that future expectation. Obviously, how can that do justice to the current moment? To the moment, to the way it is just now. It is, it's no good, it's no bad, it just is. So it just is. And I find that for me, the most enjoyable thing is not to think too much about the past, not to think too much about the future, but just see things the way they are. And some things can be like recently, obviously, maybe it's because of the weather. I just want to experience reality. I like to just, I don't know. For me, like at the moment, I have this Marshall amp right in front of me, and it's covered in this like beautiful brown leather. And all I want to do is just kind of like pet it and experience it, and it just gives me human experience. The human experience that you're always like, damn, this is kind of nice. Just like it's nice to be, to feel the texture, to see other people's work that was put into this, and then just like experience it through playing, experience it through touching. It applies to every single other thing around me. Simple things, just like looking through the window, just look at it, not to think about, oh, it sucks that it's not sunny, or it sucks that it's not snowing, or oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do this evening, I don't know what I'm gonna eat for dinner, blah blah blah, like all of these, and I don't know, just I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's a good tip, because I find that useful to me. I don't know, I haven't read that anywhere else, but I use it sometimes myself. um, so when I find myself in this vortex of, wanting to change and distort things from the way they are, and that usually obviously always happens in your mind. So you just become like this disconnected avatar that is just like boiling in his own body, but is just totally detached for everything around it. So what I do is then I try to think of well, I just like notice things in my room, and I go through like 5 things that are in my room and just notice things about them. You know, oh, I'm in my room, so I have this lamp right in front of me. And what is the texture? What's the material? What's the form? And like just noticing other things that are like not me and are around me, acknowledging their existence. I find that it helps you to to come back a little. Okay, so let's go. Just to finish on the theme of a trade-off, I feel that any time spent with a burning heart has no trade-offs. I feel like it's very similar to what John Lennon was saying when he said, what is that like? The time you enjoyed wasting was not wasted or something like that. Yeah, I think he was up to something. And also think that it's true because when you do this, you are not trading off anything as you are living your own truth in action. Okay, so that is my topic of trade-offs. And then we go, let's see the time. Oh wow, it started snowing actually. Unbelievable. Crazy. See? Complain a little and the weather changes. I love it. Anyway, okay. So let's talk about Avatar. I don't know if many of you've seen it, but I know that it's like record breaking movie at the moment. So maybe a lot of you have seen it. I don't know. I just want to say that obviously spoilers are coming in. So I don't know, watch it before it or just like listen to what I'm about to say. So I'm not going to talk about the technical improvement because I don't understand much about it. And to my eyes, it looks somewhat similar, but I saw the behind scenes and they did hell of a work to make it the epic. So I don't know. I guess it depends. So the things that I loved that Cameron is promoting love for the environment and that he's pushing that clear realization of how much we don't want for capitalism to take hold of it all because it will leave everything in ashes and lifeless. Um, yeah, but I mean, obviously, that's a hot topic, and this has to be promoted in many ways. And this love to nature has to be fostered because I've heard that some of the kids like don't even know where milk's coming from and they think it comes from the shops. So boy, like how can you still keep the connection when you don't get to experience it at all? So it's a good way to experience it, I guess, the movie. Yet I walked out of it not feeling great. um So the reason for that was because there wasn't a character I could relate to. Okay. So all of the women are either mothers, pregnant women, sexualized teenagers, and there's also one that is not sexualized and seems presented like someone that is just kind of like in the moment and pretty much being. Um, Yet still, she's somewhat cuckoo and is talking to Earth and being all witchy. So, AKA, she's not like a normal. Well, so that's why she doesn't have to be sexualized in the way. That's how I saw it. Because you can't like it's either you have superpowers or you're sexy. Like there's no in between, boy. Uh-huh. Okay, and talking about men are also cuckoo as fuck. They're talking about such things as you are dishonor to our family. You are lame because you can't be like your brother. Man's purpose in life is to protect his family. And this thing was repeated, I think, twice in a very grandiose manner. I imagine what it did to all the kids that came to the movie and all the men that watched that movie and how it like just perpetuated this freaking crazy power structure. And so to me just rings bells as one thing, which is toxic masculinity, which, by the way, in the movie caused death of so many people, including that of the family members, and it could have been easily avoided. And a lot of the problems came just from that because the little kids wanted to prove they're not lame, that they wanted just to be loved and accepted by their father, who was really crazy. I mean, if your child dies, and obviously, like, okay, let's do a quiz. One of the teenagers died, and what was the reaction of the mother, and what was the reaction of the father? Okay, I guess we know, yeah. So the mom is screaming her heart out, insane, right? 100% grief. Everyone is obviously getting all teary. And what is the father doing? Not a single tear. What the fuck? Like, is this kind of the thing we want to promote? And that's what annoyed me a little, because I mean, here I wrote it down. So these people, to us, well, people, I mean, these was a I don't know what's there, like, basically avatar world people are presented to us as someone that are closely connected with nature, and they should, and but yet they are not in connection with themselves. Like, the level of emotional immaturity is just through the roof. And I was thinking that I'll go there as this, you know, capitalism's subdued earthling, and I could, like, have an example and learn from these advanced creatures. And yet, what I see is the same freaking old story. And wow, like, I couldn't. It just felt shit. But at the same time, I understand that we love drama. We love drama. We love drama, and that's what it was. And so, and then I was thinking, oh damn, like, is there a way then to make a movie without packaging it with a lot of emotional instability, aggression, and all of that? Like, I don't know. Is it? And so, yeah, I even so I wrote this down. Will we continue embracing the toxicity and outdated views just for the sake of a good story? And even then, will it be a good story? So yeah, I'm curious what emotional maturity will bring to the cinema. What do you think? But I don't have an answer, so I'm just leaving it here. So I also wanted to talk to you about other things like spiritual effects of a clean kitchen and many more. But I think I'll leave it at that, because I see that I've gone past the time. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any more thoughts, you can find me on Instagram, a love bus. And so yeah, until next time, take care.
Go!